dear all, a warm welcome to you to the first analyst event of Indian Gas Exchange, India's first delivery-based online gas trading platform. I, Aparna Garg, Investor Relations Officer, will be moderating this event. On this, from management side, we have Rajiv Srivastava, MD and CEO of IEX, Rajesh Mediratta, Director, IGX, Vineet Harlalka, CFO and Company Secretary, IEX, Deepak Mehta, Head Business Development for IGX, and Shruti Bhatia, Head Corporate Communications. The session is for 1.5 hours. We will begin with the opening remarks by Rajiv, followed by a presentation by Rajesh Mediratta on market opportunity, market model, IGX products, and the value proposition. Post which we will take the Q&A session and close the session with remarks from Shruti. I would just like to reiterate a few points, which are that all participant lines are on mute for this call, and we request you to please use the Q&A button and post your questions to all panelists after the opening remarks and the PPT. I would just like to repeat this point, please, which is that please use the Q&A button and post your questions to all panelists and do not use the chat option. And please note that this call is only for Indian Gas Exchange. Request you to please get in touch with us separately for any questions related to IEX. I now request Rajiv for his opening remarks. Thank you all, and over to Rajiv.
Thanks a lot, Aparna. And very warm welcome to all of you on this first analyst event of Indian Gas Exchange, which, as you all know, is India's first delivery-based online gas trading platform and powered by, of course, a high class of state-of-the-art technology. Before we begin, I just want to make sure that all of you, your teams, your families, everybody is safe and healthy. These are crazy times, difficult times. We all see and read too much about it. Ideally, we would have loved to do this event in person with all of you present because it's such a great moment from the point of view of our company's history right now. But we are doing it remotely, and I sincerely hope to meet all of you reasonably soon. You would be aware that on 15th of June, just early this week, we had the proud privilege of having Shri Dharmendra Pradhan for Petroleum and Natural Gas and Minister for Steel inaugurating IGX. I sincerely hope most of you were a part of this launch ceremony, and you would have heard that in his keynote address, the minister alluded to the launch of IGX as a landmark event, a real path-breaking event as a turning point for the Indian energy economy. It was a memorable day for us, and we are excited by the encouragement we received from the ministry, from our partners, from members, from clients, from all of you, from media, from analysts, from everyone all across. I'm also delighted to share with you that on the very first day of the launch, we witnessed a first trade on the IGX trading platform of 100 MMBTU, and you guys know gas is measured in MMBTU units in the daily market at a price of 309 rupees per MMBTU, and this is significant. The price discovery in rupees is a very significant thing, as we will talk to you as we go forward in the presentations that follow my opening address. As you all are already aware, in the larger scheme of things, the energy sector globally, as well as in India, is undergoing a huge transformation. And that transformation is across many vectors. There is a hybridization of technology and gas types that is taking, or of energy types that is taking place. We are witnessing an accelerated transition towards cleaner, greener, more sustainable sources with increased emphasis on renewables and natural gas. You would know that as a signatory to the Paris Agreement, Climate Control Agreement in 2016, India is committed to achieving sustainability targets and to ensure access to affordable and reliable energy for all. Just closer to the topic on the gas, India is hugely potential from a gas sector perspective. At the moment, natural gas just accounts for about 6%, 6.2% of India's primary energy consumption. And think of it the way it compares with the rest of the globe. At a global level, natural gas has about 24% share of the primary energy market. And so there's a huge gap between where India is versus where it can actually go to just to become an average with average from a global perspective. And with the government's ambitious vision of making gas at least about 15% of the primary energy consumption mix by 2030, we believe that India's natural gas demand would rise on the back of these two factors. One, the mix will shift from 6 to 15%, and secondly, just the base level of gas consumption will continue to rise. So we do expect the market size to become 600 MMSCMD over the course of next 8 to 10 years, from 150 right now, which is a fourfold increase. Uh, I just want to let you know IGX is committed to leading this transition towards a gas-based economy, and that's the primary reason we are launching this platform. And we want to launch this platform by architecting next generation solutions for natural gas trading and access. We intend to play a key and important role in fulfilling the national objective, the vision of the government as a whole, from to shift from 6 to 15% of cleaner and more low emission fuels. We are extremely confident that the markets will have a pivotal role to play in accelerating this adoption towards a cleaner, sustainable energy by the existing gas-based industries, and we will attract and we will others a lot others will continue to follow. Having our own competitive gas price benchmark will drive over time should drive investments in the gas value chain, both upstream as well as downstream, and we are pretty certain of that happening as a learning from what has happened across the rest of the globe. It will enable efficient utilization of the infrastructure that has already been created, and the infrastructure that is about to get created as we are speaking right now. And there's a lot of work going on in India in that direction. So that's an efficient utilization of pipeline infrastructure, as well as to ensure revival of gas-based power plants which were not working because the cost of generation was not suiting or sustaining. They should get to revival stage through a gas-based power plant mechanism. Competitively discovered gas prices will play an instrumental role in increasing the competitiveness of the industry, because it lends itself to providing gas input or energy input at a much cheaper, much more competitive price, and so it enhances your industrial and economic competitiveness. With the launch of gas market from physical delivery hubs in Dahej and Hazira in Gujarat, and in Oduru, which is Kakinada in Andhra Pradesh, we expect to initially capture about 2 to 3% of the spot market share. And you will know this, the spot market right now in the entire gas value chain, the spot market is about 30%. So we expect to capture 2 to 3% of that spot market in the first year. And as we go forward, with more enablers coming in place, with more people getting tuned to buying in this manner and transacting in this fashion, over the course of the next couple of years, we expect an absolute breakout growth for IGX. It is also my pleasure to share with you that as we start the business, as we start the trading exchange, trading platform, we have already onboarded 12 members and 350 clients covering all gas consuming sectors such as city gas distribution, fertilizers, power plants, ceramic, glass industries with us. And this only is a strong testimony and outcome of the tremendous sense of confidence and trust displayed by our stakeholders within the gas value chain with IGX. So at IGX, we really look forward to making a very proactive and meaningful contribution to building a sustainable energy economy and transforming the gas markets in India. With that, let me hand it back to Aparna uh, to then navigate us to the next section. And I'll be back for question and answers as we go forward. Aparna, over to you.
Thank you, Rajesh, so much for your opening remarks. I now request Rajesh Mendiratha for the presentation on Indian Gas Exchange. Over to you, sir.
Rajesh, can't hear you.
Sorry. Yeah, thanks, Aparna, and very good afternoon to everyone who's joined today with us for this session. I'll take you through the presentation. Please just let me know when you are able to see. So is it okay? Are you able to see?
We can see, sir.
Yeah. So this is what we would like to cover through presentation, and many of you are aware of IEX and also largely what IGX is about. But so I can run it faster, and we can leave more time for question and answer. So we will talk about today Indian gas market overview, introduction to IGX, market model, and way forward. So IEX, we already are operating a electricity delivery based market. This is also a flow commodity. Gas is also a flow commodity. Some similarities are there, but not exactly. They are both similar commodities. So we will see that in what way we will be operating this exchange differently. But largely, we draw our value from operating a delivery based market for a flow commodity like electricity, and that really has given a lot of advantage having operated this similar market. Now in IEX, we already are having 97% market share. We operate for all our participants, which are 4,000 plus for electricity, 2,000 plus in renewable energy certificates and energy saving certificates. All distribution companies and the generators are participating through our market, and 4,000 plus industries are also there. And currently, we facilitate trade of almost 40% of short-term market. Of course, because in case of electricity, we have a lot of legacy contracts. So it took some time for coming to 40% of short-term market, and ramp up was a bit slow, but in absolute number, we are definitely quite good in terms of volumes. We are public listed company. We are regulated by CRC. We have all three certifications with IEX, 9001, 27001 for information security, and 14001 for environment. Now, coming to gas sector, we understand this is 160 MMCMD market for India total consumption, and there are five major use of industries which use gas as inputs. Fertilizer is one of the key industry, and that uses more of LNG, less of domestic gas. And if you see, power is also important part of gas sector, but of course it consumes less of imported LNG than domestic gas. But CGD and refinery and petrochemical and other industries, of course, so they consume quite a significant amount of LNG. Now, why I'm talking about LNG more? Because we will be operating a market where you will discover a price, and domestic gas is basically priced by government through a formula, and that will not be coming to the market for trade. What we will be having mostly for our trades will be LNG, and also a bit of domestic gas, which is produced by SPST onshore and offshore wells. And there is a market freedom given to such gas producers, and they will definitely be able to sell it in our market. Now, if you see in terms of growth, the LNG, which constitute today about 51% of total gas consumption in the country, over the last 5 to 6 years, it has actually grown. Its share has grown from 34 to 47 in 2019, and last year it was almost 51%. So that because domestic gas consumption is limited, so whatever demand is coming, that's being met through LNG. So LNG will be a major contributor for our gas demands, and with CGD coming up, more fertilizer plants are coming up for import substitution. Power also may become viable industries like glass, ceramic, they will also be one of the users, and they will also grow with the reach expanding of gas to different parts of the country. Currently, gas is being consumed mostly on west and north, but not much network is there in south and east. So, the government has plans to increase that capacity, network capacity, and then we will really see the growth in industrial consumption, CGD consumption. Power can also grow with time, and fertilizer anyway will grow. So this is the overall demand and supply situation. In terms of infrastructure, again, it is shown here that we currently have about 17,000 kilometer of pipeline network, and plans are there to make it 32,000 by in 2 to 3 years time, and lot of government focus is there, and we expect that this eastern region will be connected through major pipeline, Urja Ganga pipeline, and Indradhanush pipeline will be connecting eastern part of the country to northeastern. So that will open up another region for gas consumption. In terms of LNG import, it can only be imported through terminals. So it is a liquid gas. It gets regasified at those terminals and then pumped into the pipeline network. And we already have about 5 terminals operating with 37.5 million tons of per annum capacity, which we expect to grow to 50 in next 2 to 3 years time, and finally it can grow to almost double in next 5 years. And there are LNG terminals there in mostly on western coast. We also have one in eastern coast, NO, that's operating, but not operating at a full capacity. So out of this 37.5 million ton, 25 million ton is being capacity is being used, but other part of capacity not being used because the network which can take gas from these terminals to industries and CGDs, that network is coming up. So we have quite a good number of terminals on western coast, and we expect that to be a major center for LNG consumption. But over a period of time, we will have a growth in other part of the country also. Now, this is the sector-wise fertilizer, because government is very keen to substitute imports of urea, and for that they will definitely like to consume, have more capacity, and then we can see this fertilizer is also going to grow over the next 5 years. So basically, fertilizers, CGDs, industries, and power, in case we find that power plants are getting dispatched with the cheaper gas available, they will also become a major user for LNG as input. Now, if you see the status of market for gas, so it is very similar to what we used to have for power before 2008, that you have long-term and short-term bilateral contracts, and usually it is done one-to-one. There are not many traders in between. There are not many intermediaries, like our LNG is being sold by resellers like GAIL, Shell, IOC, BPC, and other international traders. And the issue in the market is same, that we don't have any transparency. The contracts are rigid, so flexibility is not there. So when you want to buy gas, basically you can buy on a monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis. When you do it, there is a take or pay clause which prevents you to change your requirement. So you actually get burdened by the gas which you procure. So that is also impeding, in a way, growth of this market, because when a customer wants to switch to gas, he knows that gas is not freely available as and when I want. And then they see this as a constraint, and they don't shift to gas as a fuel. So they keep using the other fuels which are either more dirty or costly. Access to the market is not there for our customers. Then transaction costs are high because a lot of time is spent on signing GTA, signing GSA, that is gas sales agreement, negotiations, and then payment settlement. So all those things are pain points for the sector. And payment security, of course, for the seller is the issue as usual for any industry in India. Now coming to IGX, we have a vision. And our vision is to lead India's transition towards a gas-based economy by architecting next-generation solutions for natural gas trading and access. So basically, we are here to transform the markets in a way that it allows growth of economy and the gas consumption in the country, and people are ready to switch to gas as a cleaner fuel, and also its supply increases, and customers are able to get advantage of international market prices, which are lower than even the domestic prices currently. So with that vision, we started this market. In terms of values, we are providing automated platform. Technology will play a very, very key role in providing customer-centric solution. We remain efficient, transparent, market-driven. Price discovery mechanism will be very, very transparent, and we would like to see how we should discover a price which is meaningful for the market and it's robust and credible. And other important thing is we would like that India should discover its own price, and not that we are using the benchmarks coming from international markets, but we have our own benchmarks for depending on our demand and supply and ability to pay by our buyers. And this is our strength. We are operating a delivery-based platform for last 10 plus years. Now it's almost we are completing 12 years. We have talent pool is good. Exchange technology is good. We have very robust market model, and we understand the domain of exchanges, and we also understand the domain of how we should be running a delivery-based platform. This is our team. You must all be aware of our team at the top, Rajiv, me, and Vineet. And we have a team at a senior level, which is Deepak Mehta is heading our business development. Prasanna Rao is heading our market operations, and Vikas Guliani is also looking after our regulatory and business side. And Deepak has been with the MCX and MGL, so he's spent 20 years in oil and gas industry and commodity exchanges. Prasanna Rao has been throughout within the domain of exchanges, so he understands the whole operation of equity, commodity, power exchanges. So all three segments he has gone through, and he is very strong at exchange domain. And Vikas is of course on the oil and gas. He has spent his 15 years in oil and gas, so he is very strong at our domain of oil and gas. Now coming to that, what type of how we will be facilitating trade for our gas participants. So this is a brief description, and more details, of course, you can have it separately. So broadly, what we are talking about, when we run a delivery-based market, we need to define a delivery point. And in case of gas, we have chosen hubs, and currently we are starting with 3 physical hubs. We could have started with a virtual hub, but in case of India, since transmission pricing is not aligned to creating a virtual hub, and it's a distance based, so we need to actually have physical hubs. So there will be a physical location in the network, which will be defined as a delivery point by the seller. Seller will bring gas up to that point, and buyer will take gas from that point onwards to his location. So Dahej, Hazira, these are located in Gujarat. They are very close by, and lot of most of the majority of the gas LNG is coming on these terminals, Dahej and Hazira. So that's of course a very, very natural choice. Third one is we are starting with Kakinada, Oduru. That is a location in the KG basin, where some marginal fields are already there who are ready to sell gas to gas industries. And also later when Reliance and ONGC will come out, will produce gas in their, I think it's KG 98/2 oil fields. From there, this gas will be free market gas, and that will be able, they will be able to sell it on the Oduru or Kakinada hub. And as we go along, we can add more hubs. So the Bol Jaigarh, as soon as this H Energy terminal comes, we will be ready to launch this hub. Kochi, Ennore, Mundra. So all these we can add as we see that more volumes are coming and more sellers are able to sell, bring gas at those locations. Now, in terms of products, we propose to have products up to a month, so complete range starting from daily, weekly, weekdays, fortnightly, and monthly. Normally, currently, many of CGD companies and industries are purchasing on monthly basis or quarterly basis, but less on fortnightly and weekday. So when we will launch this market, the flexibility for customer will be that they can buy base quantity from in their monthly contract, and their variations on daily basis or weekly basis, they can come off for daily or weekly contracts and buy that. And the trading session will be will open between 10 to 12. During that time, buyers and sellers will be able to come and bring their submit their bids and offers. The timeline and trading window, all that is now available on the website. So anyone who is interested in trading, he can look at the calendar and come and trade on different contracts. Now, the governance structure for any exchange is same, that we have market rules and bylaws. They will define basic framework for operation of market. Also, we will define in the bylaws the obligations of member and clients and exchange, and how the whole organization of IGX will operate, what type of committees will be there to take care of transparency, market abuses, surveillance on market abuses. So those things will be handled by our committee, will be looked by our committees, and those things will be defined in the bylaws. It's already there on the website. Market rules will define the rules for trading, relationship between exchange, how the delivery and settlement will happen between exchange and members and clients, how they are supposed to deal with each other. So basically these two documents will define basic structure, and then if there are changes happening during because trading environment is very dynamic, so we need to make it flexible, and then we keep on issuing changes in our operation framework if required through circulars. And the contract specifications are also important part of market rules, where we define that what are the standard terms and conditions of the contract. We are in this market, the delivery, we will be handling trading, delivery and settlement, all three aspects. Now, when we talk about delivery, it's important that we need to handle the transmission. So because pipeline network only facilitate the delivery part. So we will provide two options to our members and participants. One is accept transaction. It means that somebody wants to trade on the exchange, and later it takes care of the delivery part, means booking of transmission capacity and scheduling and nomination, all those things if he wants to handle himself. So he can opt for X-Hub transaction. It means that the gas has been delivered at the hub itself. And second option is that he can use deliver transaction. It means that he can leave the delivery part to exchange and exchange will take care of the transmission capacity, booking, nomination, and other aspects. This is the broad details, salient features of our contract. So our lot size is 100 MMBTU. Minimum quantum somebody can do is 100 MMBTU. Bid unit is in rupees, Indian rupees per MMBTU. So this is the big difference between what normally trade happens and what we are planning to do. We will have a price in rupees, Indian rupees. So that's very comfortable to our buyers, because buyers do not want to have a dollar risk coming to them. So when seller is coming and he's placing offer at rupees per MMBTU, so he takes the risk himself and then he places his orders, and buyer remains insulated from the dollar exchange risk. So other things like price discovery, types of delivery, imbalance management, margins, all those things are defined in the contract specification and the market rules. And this will be the trade flow, typical trade flow, or how it will flow. So bidding will be done by the participants, matching will be done by exchange. We will check with the pipeline operator their availability, then we will declare the results, and then we will confirm to the participants, and finally it will be scheduled on the pipeline network. Now, another important part of this market is that how we are going to match buy and sell bids. So we are going to have a different mechanism, as you see for any stock or a commodity exchange where you do a continuous trade. Here we are planning to do a double-sided closed auction, which is very similar to our electricity debt market, where we discover a price, we receive buyers and bids from buy side and sell side, and we match in such a manner that maximum trade is likely to take place, and we discover a price. That price becomes the market cleared price for the whole session. So suppose in this case there are some buyers at 530 rupees, 450 rupees, 430, 450, 370. Similarly, sell is there from at 350, 370, 400 or 450 rupees per MMBTU. But when we discover a price of 430, so what it means that every buyer who is selected or who is above 430 or at price of 430, he will have to pay only 430. Similarly, seller who's quoted at 430 or less than 430, he will get 430. So this is the very big advantage, that you don't have to do a lot of strategy when you're placing your bids. Because normally when you talk about the stock or commodity market, then you have to quote a price which you want to get. But here you have to quote your best price, and what you may get from the market is discovered by the market, and then you will have some saving out of that, because you would have quoted highest price and then you got less than your quoted price. So you actually save on that. So you don't need to put any buyer or seller need not be too much concerned of what type of bid they have to put, at what price they should bid, because the price is getting discovered here. He should only give its best price. So normally what in such market, what a buyer does, that it gives its best price. So the cost of alternative fuel that he will compare with what price he will quote for this market, and then, or maybe second option of buying from market, so that it can be his price quotation, and what he may get will be something better than what he quotes. Now, giving some updates, we already have a mechanism for our consultation with the market participants. We have a market advisory committee, which we formed in February. We met 2 times, and all big participants of gas industry are part of it. That includes GAIL, BPCL, Shell, PLL, PIL. So you talk about all pipeline operators are part of it. All sellers are part of it. From consumers, we have taken we have taken few representative companies or industries to become part of it. So power plants are part of it, fertilizer, then CGDs and steel, glass, ceramic, all type of industries are part of it. So that forum is used for actually getting a feedback from the market that what should we be doing in terms of our products, what model we should use for that product, what type of matching we should use. So those discussions happen in that advisory committee. We already, before starting, we did mock trade session. They were all successful. So we, as Rajiv said, that we already have onboarded good number of members and clients. We already have a monthly newsletter which flows out to more than 1,000 participants from gas industry. That's the way we would be connecting to our ecosystem at large. Now, what are the values which our customers will draw from this? One is that once you discover a price, you see there is an open market available. Then we expect that E&P sector will grow, investments will happen. Second is that the gas-based plants can revive. Looking at the price of gas, they can actually operate their power plants. Today they have to buy under long term. They don't need to buy under long term. Now they can buy on daily basis or weekly basis or maybe monthly basis, depending on how the market power market prices are moving. They can look at it and then operate their power plants. Fertilizer industries, they can buy gas through exchange that will be cheaper than what maybe they are paying today. That will decrease the subsidy burden on the government and also make fertilizer cheaper. Then CGD companies can serve their customers better because they can take care of the variability of their demand on commercial and industry side. And of course, the small industries like glass and ceramic and steel, they should be able to utilize this market very well to take care of their higher cost of input, so they can make their input cost lower and they can save something on that. Now, on the enabler side, we see that, and as you may also be aware, that there are few things which we expect that we should change in the sector so that we can create a better market. And as the minister has also said in that our launch event, that he is also very keen that we should improve upon the current regulation, and already a lot of work is being done, and we are expecting the better those reformed, changed or modified regulation will be coming out in a month or so, and for discussion purpose, and then finally based on public consultation they will be able to close and those regulations. Now, basic enablers which we identified are for the market development are, one is that we need to have a system operator. As we have in electricity, we should have a system operator. So we have 3 pipeline operator, but no system operator. So that will create, make the whole process of capacity booking, scheduling, and nomination and energy accounting, everything will become more transparent and smooth. Second is that access to the infrastructure. So open access for transmission, open access to terminal capacity. Tariff rationalization, for which already there is a study going on at KNGRB, where they have appointed a consultant to do rationalization of transmission tariff. So that can also have good impact on the market. Uniform taxation, of course, will be very, very important. And gas allocation for trading hub. So this is also what we are looking for, because we mostly will have LNG or coming on for sale. But if there is a small volume of domestic gas also comes for the sale, then we really can discover a good price. And then there will be diversity of sale also. So that's what is important for a market, that we should have a diverse type of sellers. And this is the last slide on what we will be doing in future as we go along. So one is that we need to expand our coverage. We will add new hubs. We will add new products. LNG can be one, and maybe other petroleum products. We will bring in best-in-class technology infrastructure for the market. Already what we have done, achieved in electricity, we have started a real-time market which is running so close to real-time. 1 hour So you have to do everything in 15 minutes, and that we are able to achieve. So we have a very strong technology strength. So we will be leveraging that strength also for this market. Strengthening the organization, of course, we will have more people from oil and gas and more people from the exchange domain will make it stronger. And most important part of the whole thing is that gas sector, we see that framework is still not updated as electricity. And even if you compare with international market, we are not, our regulatory structure and policy, there are a lot of things to be done. And we will keep working closely with the government and PNGRB on policy and regulatory side to improve upon that framework so that our gas sector participants take advantage of this. So this with this I would close it here and uh, over to Aparna.
Thank you so much, sir, for your presentation. Dear all, this presentation is available on the IGX website. We will now begin with a Q&A session. I request you all to please use the Q&A button and post your questions to all panelists. Please note that we have around 40-45 minutes for the Q&A session, post which we are happy to take the questions offline. So we have, to begin with, there are two questions from Ankush Agarwal. The first one is, can the management give some color on virtual hubs? And the next one is, there are no volumes on the exchange currently. So what are the reasons for the same? And by when does the management expect some traction on the volumes?
All right. Let me take on the second question, and then I'll hand it over to Rajesh for the first question, which is on the virtual hubs. But on the volumes, let me just give you a sense. We traded on the day on which we launched. So the first day we had a launch, we had a trade, we had 100 MMBTU getting traded at a price of 309 rupees per unit. So I think that was a good beginning, auspicious beginning we had to do, on the day of the launch on Monday. As we are going forward, we are ramping up, and there are many buyers and many suppliers who are on stage on launch on the platform with us. So these are early days. As we go along and perfect the process, and the trades start to match, prices on both sides start to match. The way RKM, the way Rajesh explained to you, the whole process of matching, of buying and supplying, all of that will start to get far more accelerated. So these are early days. It's just the first few days on what we're seeing. So you will see acceleration on the trade volume starting to take place as we go forward. Let me hand it over back to Rajesh for the question on the virtual hubs. Rajesh, all yours. And you are on mute, Rajesh.
Yeah, Rajiv, the question is really good that when we will move to virtual hub. Actually, this transmission tariff is very important for moving to virtual hub because currently our transmission tariff is on distance. So we need to identify a physical location from where the buyer will take the gas. So he knows the transmission charge upfront. And now when we are working on rationalization of transmission tariff, there are two models which are being thought over. One is postal stamp based tariff, where you can have one postal stamp for the country, or there can be regional postal stamp. But whatever they do on the postal stamp, both can actually allow us to have a virtual hub. Second option for transmission pricing is entry exit tariff, and which is the very standard tariff mechanism in Europe, and in India also we are using the similar tariff for electricity. So once we have an entry exit tariff for gas, then we should be able to launch a virtual hub. Of course, there will be another requirement of uniform taxation, but we can still manage that by innovating by innovation. Once we have a transmission pricing rationalized in either postal stamp method or maybe going to a entry exit tariff. Over to you, Aparna.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next question is from Mr. Krishnan. He is asking, please take us through the revenue model for IGX. And a related question is, what is the targeted revenue or revenue aspiration for the first 3 years?
Okay, I think we are perfecting this. I think I'll answer answer one question and then I'll hand it over to RKM to answer the second part of the question. On the revenue, on the targeted revenues, look, I explained to you that the energy, the play of gas in the energy, overall energy baseline is just about 6.2% right now. And the government desires to make this to 15% over the course of next 8 to 10 years. 6% and of the 6%, which is 153 or 160 units of gas that gets consumed on a regular basis, about 30% of that is already a spot trading. Okay, which is who we are. Spot trading is all trade that is done over a period of 1 year time. So 30% is already spot right now. In the first year, our aspirations, our ambitions are really low or modest, I would say. We expect to get 2 to 3% of the spot market in the first year. And then as you go forward, and the way Rajesh mentioned about the enablers coming in, which is unbundling of marketing and transportation, which is about creation of a system operator or rationalization of the transmission and the transportation pricing, some enablers on the taxation also coming in. You find that this has got a huge potential of exponential growth over the course of next couple of years. And our ambition would be to get at least to about 50% of the spot market over the course of next 4 to 5 years. Rajesh, I can hand it over to you for the first one on the way you build the revenue model, so you can explain it.
Yeah, see, our revenue model is like we have a membership fees for the members who are joining, and that's on the public domain. If it is not, I can share that also with you, that we charge 25 lakh as an admission fee for our members. Of course, we had earlier given some discount to our IEX members so that they are able to onboard easily. But otherwise, now after 30th June, it is going up again to 25 lakh. So 25 lakh is the membership fee. Then we will have an annual fee for members, which will be 5 lakh. And there will be a client fee. For every client who joins the exchange, that will be 1 lakh per year. And there was some waiver for some period because for early birds, we had given some discount. And there is a transaction fee which we will collect from each MMBTU of actual transaction. And there we have differentiated that there is a X-Hub transaction, we will charge a lower fee, and then there is a delivered transaction on which we will charge a bit higher fee because there's something more we are doing for delivered transaction. This will be broadly our revenue model, 3 areas of revenue: membership, annual fee. Membership will be admission one time, annual will be recurring, and then transaction fee.
Okay, Deepak, I see one more question on who are these clients and customers of ours. So do you want to, in the 30% spot, who are the current customers? So can you take that question, please?
Yeah, sure. If you see the total breakup of natural gas consumption, the entire set we can divide into 5 broad categories: the fertilizer, city gas, power, petrochemicals and refineries, and the bulk industries. And all the 5 segments are quite active in the spot market also currently. So major one, as Rajesh sir told, 50% of the fertilizer companies are already active in the spot market. 46% of the city gas distribution companies are already active. So all the segments, they are actually buying in the spot market. So it's not like that we'll be catering to new audience. So they are present, they're consuming the spot contracts also and buying gas on APM basis also. So the major customers can be on the selling side, can be GAIL, can be Shell, active on both the sides. They are active in the domestic markets also, as well as the international market also. And the buyer side, you name any, I mean, is present in the spot market also, as well as in the long-term agreements with the government public sector undertakings.
For now, over to you.
Okay, thank you. I'll be clubbing 2 questions together. The first one is from Abhishek Puri on the margin of rupees 5 to 7 MMBTU. Is that regulated or approved by PNGRB? The second one is from Dhruv, and he's asking if gas storage would be the key to increased trading.
Okay.
Yeah, so first question is whether 5 rupees and 7 rupees is regulated. So it's not regulated. See, this is in gas. generally commodity is not exchanges, is not regulated by any regulator. So there is a marketing freedom, there is a freedom for intermediaries to charge their fees. So currently there is no regulation as such, but as and when regulation will be there, we will be bound by that.
Next one is on gas storage. If this will be
Gas
key to
storage, yeah,
increase
correct,
trading.
correct, yeah. See, for the gas storage, if gas storage is there, definitely it will help the market. But currently it is not there. It doesn't mean that we can't have the market, because there is some limited storage in the pipeline. Of course, pipelines are not being used as a storage as such. But had there been gas storage in the system, that would definitely help the market.
Okay. The next question is from Apurva Shah. He's asking, what are the biggest challenges you see and hurdles in terms of regulations? And from regulation point of view, what can be the biggest catalyst for gas exchange?
Yeah, I'll take the question. See, currently regulations are aligned to bilateral trade. So if you see the access regulation, the gas trade transport agreement, GTA, these two are important regulations which are affecting us, and both are aligned to more on bilateral market transactions. Now, when exchange will be there, then things may require a change, because we will be aggregating. We are not one-to-one. We are basically aggregating buy and bringing to the seller. And if we really want to take advantage of aggregation, then probably we need some changes in the regulation. So important regulation for us is access regulation, which defines that how somebody can access the capacity, transmission capacity. And second part is that transport capacities should be transparently available on the pipeline operator's website, or they can be a common website. So these two are very critical. Third one, which we are saying is more institutional, is a system operator. And fourth one, I talked about the transmission tariff. So system operator part probably it is less appreciated in gas sector, but we understand that really having a system operator which is independent of pipeline operator, it can be part of a pipeline operator, but it's independent of any market participants. That really can make a big difference in terms of creating a transparent rules and better rules for markets. Over to you, Aparna.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Saurav Jain. He's asking, what are the risks or challenges to scale up? Second question is, what are the concerns raised by prospective clients so far, including that in MAC? And exchanges need multiple sellers, and we have some. Is their supply pricing different? If yes, why is it so?
Yeah. So one is that you are talking about risks which are there in the system. It is because gas is a different commodity, and we have not streamlined the access part of it, and there is no system operation. So that those risks are there, but that is what exchange in their market rules. We are trying to see that we are not exposed to the risk, and we have framed our market rules and bylaws in such a manner that the risk which are arising from transportation is also being shared by our buyers and sellers. So there is no risk where the exchange gets exposed to. So that's what we are working on, and we also are working on improving our regulations so that those risks are. Now, second, we understand now there is a sufficient traction from the buy side. So number of clients are, you can see that they are all keen, and they look for a transparent price discovery. Currently, they are tied up in a contract, and they are limited in their options to procure gas. When we will have a market in place, then they will definitely get a choice of sellers. Now the challenge what he's saying is true. And he's saying that the number of suppliers are not many. Now our efforts will be to increase number of suppliers also. So international sellers or traders who are currently not many, and they are also not venturing much into the in Indian market. We are trying to bring them on board so that there is a real diversity of sellers also, and they can really bring a cheaper gas into the market. Only thing is they are facing issue is that they need a terminal capacity, and for which we have taken up with the government that government should allow some capacity for such international traders so that they can use the capacity and bring in cheaper gas into the system. Over to you, Aparna.
Okay, thank you. The next one is from Devesh, and he's asking what has been the investment in this platform and what is the likely OPEX in the first couple of years?
What is the first question? What has been different on this platform?
What has been the investment in this platform?
Okay. Should we give it to Vineet? Vineet, you want to handle that question?
Yeah. Thanks, Aparna. Thanks, Rajiv. If you look into the overall OPEX side, and if you look at the overall OPEX side of IEX or any other exchange, mainly the cost on the technology and the manpower are the two main cost components. So IGX or gas exchange will be no different than that. So the majority of the cost will be going on the manpower on the technology side. So if you give it the exact number may not be possible, but it will be somewhere around 18 to 20. Should be there, which is the base cost of the infrastructure need to see going forward how the things turn around. And look at in the existing structure, we look the majority of the costs we incur on the technology platform because it's a one-time investment we have to do. And going forward, then it will have to be upgraded as per the market requirements, regulations, and all that things. So looking at the same exchange model, it will be no different than the other exchanges. These are the two major cost components which we will be going to have. Yeah, for now, back to you.
The next few questions are from Shaleen. He's asking, given suppliers are concentrated, so why would they like to go for exchange transaction as it dilutes their bargaining power? Next is IGX providing GTA from hub to last mile, or buyer still needs to arrange for last mile? The third one is on the technology, and he's asking who is the technology provider in IGX, and is there any fee linked to performance or volumes?
Okay, Rajesh, I'll hand it over to you for the first two ones, which is on suppliers concentration and the last mile challenges. Let me just take on the technology piece. The tech provider in this is we have tied up with the UK company called GMEX to provide us with technology for the exchange. Now they are leaders in this part of the business on exchange, on settlement, on clearance, on the whole 9 yards of the exchange bit that requires to be technology enabled, and they are very, very smooth in terms of the interfaces between us and the customers on the whole, the simplicity of the platform, the scalability. So we've chosen a world leader, and it also gives us a tremendous amount of leverage. It also gives us a tremendous amount of leverage to come on and learn the best practices which are happening across the world. So I think it's a departure from what we've done earlier in electricity piece, but it's a great one for just to learn and get the best technology in the world on this platform. Let me hand over to Rajesh for the two questions on suppliers concentration, the last mile.
Yeah, see, supplier definitely are not many, and 10 to 15 is the universe now, and they may look for what value they get by coming to market. Now it is the other way around, that when buyers are coming to the market, then they will have to come to the market. So maybe initially they will have some resistance, but because since buyers will be coming to market now, looking at the exchange, buyers will stop doing any long-term contract which are more than which are about a year. So they will look for coming to exchange for buying it, and when buyers will be there, I strongly feel that seller will automatically be converging on the platform. Second part was on GTA. See, we are doing GTA on a major trunk of pipelines. Now, We initially will be going for facilitating transaction for those who are connecting on trunk line, and the last mile, for that they need to take care themselves. So initially our focus will be on the large customer who are connected on the trunk routes only, and they will be facilitated first, and the other ones also can come, but we will expect them to have a capacity booked for them on the last mile. So on the spur line, any capacity reservation required, they will have to take care themselves, and they also need to get clearance from the CGD. In case they are connected into a CGD network, then they will also need a clearance from CGD. So in the first phase, we would be focusing more on large customers directly connected on the trunk lines. Yeah, over to you, Aparna.
Vinny, there are some questions around costs again because there was some issue in terms of the audio. So if you could repeat what you mentioned on the OPEX and also on the tech cost.
Thanks, Aparna. If you look at the overall cost components of the exchange, so I was reiterating that fact only. For all the exchanges, the core cost components are two only. One is the manpower and one is the technology side. So the IGX will be no different than the basic exchange model. So majority of the OPEX will be on this running the exchange, the technology side, and the manpower cost. And if you look into the overall, we estimate, though it is too early to comment on what will the exact numbers, but looking at the experience what we have, should be in the range of 18 to 20 crores in 1 or 2 years. This is our thought. But the majority of the component I can give, it will be on the manpower on the technology side. On the present structure of the capex what we incur on the present technology platform what we acquired, it is around 77 crore to 7.5 crore is the overall cost, but it is in a phases. So if you look into get what comes to give the accurate number, because it is still evolving. We had come out with the platform, but once the regulatory changes come and all come, we need to get adding. This is the cost which will be the core for any of the exchange business.
Thank you. Next question is from Apurva. He's asking, it will be helpful if you could share the margin profile on gas trades, and also who is the governing authority for fixing this margin, like we have CERC in case of electricity?
I think RKM answered that question earlier. There is no margin authority to fix, and maybe RKM, you want more time, you can do that.
Yeah, so margins are, somebody said also in the question that 5 rupees is for our exchange, like accept transaction, and 7 rupees for deliver transaction, and it will be applicable on both the sides. So this is the trading margin, or you can say transaction fee we will recover. And in case of gas, since there is no regulator on the commodity side, even your normal gas is not being regulated. If you say talk about LNG, so free market gas, there is no part of supply chain is regulated, like the margins of intermediary is not regulated. So currently there is no regulation as such. But in future, if with the gas exchange regulation in place, if they bring in some kind of margin limitation or capping, then we can look at it. But more likely, gas will not be same as electricity, because basically gas is not so much regulated as electricity. So we don't expect any price cap on transaction fee, which will limit us below whatever limit we have set today.
So this in a way answers the next question in case you want to add anything else, which is how is gas market better or worse than the electricity market?
See, the good part of gas market is that gas is a pure central subject. So it will be only any policy or regulatory framework, it will be set by central government, and states will not come into picture. Whereas in case of electricity, you not only have to take care of what happens in the central acts, but also you have to look at regulations at the state level also. So good part is this. Only thing is the con of this gas sector is that still this sector is not evolved. Sector is more than 100-year-old. So it has actually matured in terms of its regulation, which is not happened so much in case of gas. And in case of gas, another con is that marketing and transportation is not separated, which in case of electricity, we have separated them. Currently, system operator is not there in case of gas. In case of electricity, it is there. Transmission pricing has also evolved in case of electricity, which has not happened in gas. So there are few areas where electricity is better, but overall, if we are able to catch up our gas regulation with the advanced markets, then that can be better than electricity market, because making changes for gas framework is much easier than what we find in case of electricity.
And I think Rajesh, you bring a very good point about having it central versus a very federated sort of a model and structure. Because in a central structure, the decision making becomes that much more simpler versus the complex structure of federated and every state trying to comply with the same regulation, and then regulations don't really go forward. And that's a big sort of a shift. But I think the bigger point over here on the difference between gas and electricity is, in some ways you would find that electricity has achieved a state of a little bit of more maturity from the whole operating principles and guidelines, whereas gas is in the nascent stage with two folds to it, two dimensions to it. One, there is a very strong dimension which is the push from the government, where they want to move towards a low emission sort of a fuel, and a shift in the economy towards the gas, in the energy economy towards the gas economy, which is a very strong push from the government. And the second is our commitment to the Paris Climate Control Agreement, which again drives a huge amount of conversion of this nature. So, like it or not, there is a ton of such huge amount of transformation which we see in the overall energy sector for sure, but a lot more transformation we see happening in the gas sector at a much more rapid pace. So that's the reason you saw, and you would have heard all the participants on our launch time, which is the minister himself, which is the secretary MOPNG, which is Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, and the chairman for PNGRB. All three of them alluding to the fact that, look how fast we can quickly move towards those things. It's something which is a very refreshing difference, and to us a very pleasant and music to our ears in that sense.
Thank you, Rajiv. I will again request everyone to please use the Q&A button, because that is what we are managing. We may end up missing a few questions which are posted on the chat window. The next question is from Manikanta. The question is, at what stage the discussions with government are on allocating some domestic gas volumes to the exchange? And the second is, looks like China and Japan are yet to succeed with their hubs. What are we doing differently with respect to those hubs?
At what stage the discussions are with the government on allocating domestic gas to the hub? Look, like you said, we are not depending on the domestic gas to begin with. Though domestic gas will get traded on the exchange, and clearly that's the reason of setting up the physical delivery hub through Oduru in Kakinada. So that will get done as we speak. Initially, like we said, we are dependent on some other forms of trade from that perspective. But as we go forward, there will be much more. And the government, in our opinion, I think the facilitation which the government is looking at doing is to mandate a certain quantity of all of these gas from all of these owners, so to say, which is GAIL and PLL and everybody else, to be mandated to be sold through or traded through the exchange. So that will happen, but like I said, not really overly sort of concerned about that from a beginning. You want to add something, Rajesh, to that topic?
Rajiv, only thing is the other part I will take one is that already there is a cabinet note. There, this agenda is already there. So we hope that whenever this note comes up for the decision, probably that decision will be taken by government, and so we will leave it to government that when they will come out, because this has been there in the discussion since long time. So we are waiting for that note to be cleared by the cabinet. The second part is what we are doing different from China and Japan. Only thing which we find is that Japan is all import, no domestic. So they don't need to do any kind of price benchmark. In our case, we need to set a benchmark because we will have quite a good volume of domestic gas also, as Reliance and ONGC will come out with more volumes. So actually, the purpose of for India setting up this hub is more important, because here we want to get our own price discovery. In case of Japan, if everything is imported, they don't need to do much, because everything gets imported and the price is known from the seller side. And on China, I understand their market was more concentrated on sell side, and because there are 2 or 3 major sellers and they only take care of the whole market. But we still need to understand more on China and Japan. This is with the current limited understanding. We feel that we are different from China and Japan. And since we will have some domestic gas also coming up, and the purpose of government itself is that we should discover our own benchmark, so that tomorrow they can make domestic gas also free market gas. So our objectives are different, and our requirement is different, and our situation is different. So it's I hope that will work in India. Let's see.
Yeah, I think the other thing, and I think you bring about a very good point about the difference in the way Japanese market is really structured, because it's all about import into Japan, and then you are using the international price benchmarks to do it. China has got 2 hubs, just so you know, Manikanta. China has got 2 hubs. It's got a hub in Shanghai. It's got a hub in Chongqing, and the difference between China, Japan versus India, a big difference is in the underlying fundamental network infrastructure. China never went for creation of such a great network structure because the market initially operated in a very different way. Japan never needed to go because they were all import based. But India, because it's a combination of mix of hybrid and imported versus domestically produced, 50% being domestically produced and 50% being imported, give or take a few points here and there. By virtue of that and our need to really network in the country, we've created a very good network, which is very, very unique, which is not the case in Japan, which is not the case in China. So just because we've created a network of 17,000 kilometers already, and we are in the process of creating 15,000 more in the next 2 years, which you can pick it up from the slides of Rajesh, which is showed 15,000 more coming up, which means we'll have about 32,000 kilometers of pipeline crossing north, south, east, west, including northeast. And that's a fantastic way to really boost this whole mechanism of trade, which is very different from the other 2 countries you talked about. But now, over to you.
Next question is from Manish. He's asking if introduction of GST will increase the market size, and what will be the implication for market expansion, and what is holding the introduction back?
Yeah, I'll take this question. Yeah. Actually, GST will open up the market for gas. See, wherever there are barriers in terms of trade, if you remove them, they are going to help the market. So one of the major barrier for gas is state taxes. If you buy from one place, you pay another tax. If you buy it from another place, you pay another tax. If you buy, say, from GAIL, you pay another tax, and if you buy from Shell, you pay another tax. So all this inconsistency in the system is actually creating more problem for creating a uniform liquid market. So once the GST will be there, definitely it will help overall market to grow. Second thing is that probably reason for GST not going through is because majority of gas is from Gujarat, and Gujarat gets major from GST. Probably that reason Gujarat is not is opposing bringing gas into GST. So we hope that this will be resolved, because otherwise, if you see all other petroleum product, petrol and diesel, it's more difficult for bringing GST there, because it's more state subject, and every state has got a stake there, and every state wants to have some freedom of increasing taxes for such a product. But for gas, similar concerns are not there with other states. So maybe few states are resisting that change to happen. We hope that that change finally ministry will be able to do those changes and bring the gas into GST regime.
Okay.
Yeah, Aparna.
The next question is from Mr. Krishnan. He's asking approximately how much of the 2 to 3% of the spot market in the first year translate into revenues for IGX. Even ballpark numbers will suffice.
I didn't get it. What's the question?
The question is that on volumes front, we are saying 2 to 3% of the spot market in the first year. So how does it translate into revenues?
We just take the transaction fees. Vineet, you want to answer that?
Yeah, we are looking for the overall revenue, means based on the transaction fee of the 5 rupee and 7 rupee, we are expecting a turnover of around 14 to 15 CR in the first year. But these numbers at this juncture, because we are just launched, so revenue may differ to a lot of market making activities will be there. So means really at this time, I will feel the percentage or the volume is more critical than the revenue number at the initial stage. Because this is how you establish the exchange. So numbers we can quote any, but there are some other factors are there which are more critical at the when you launch any starts how the market model come up, what is the kind of a product, X delivery based product. A lot of factors are there which will be impact. Hallmark number roughly we can expect the revenue I think from 12 to 15
I
CR.
think that's a fair answer. Yeah, I think that's a fair answer. It's a volume-driven activity rather than a revenue-driven activity, right?
Okay. The next question is from Vidyadhar. What is the role of PNG-RB right now and how will it evolve? And is IGX likely to emerge as a competitor for those involved in gas trading or marketing like GAIL and GSPC?
Yeah. See, one is that currently the role is limited because there is no regulation for regulating gas exchanges or gas trading platform. So, as Minister and Mr. Tarun Kapoor also said that currently they will be operating on their own, but later we will will come out with a regulation, and then whenever regulations will be in place, we will be abiding by those regulation and will finally be. So we will. There is some work going on at PNGRB, and we hope that there will be some regulation in place, and we will be going by those regulations. What was the second question, Aparna?
Second is IGX likely to emerge as a competitor for those involved in gas trading or marketing like GAIL and GSPC?
See, again, the situation will be same. Like there will be some bilateral trades, there will be short-term trades, and there will be exchange-based transaction. So there will be a residual market which will come to the exchange. So there will be a market for a year or monthly contract that can be remain part of it with a reseller or a trader. So there will be some part where we will be competing. But since we are not going beyond a month for the time being, we will not have full scale competition with such sellers.
Okay. Two more.
RKM also probably they can sell on our exchange as well. I mean, they'll use our platform also to do trading. So there is, it's a good story. You are going to be collaborating in a lot of areas. Once in a while, you don't collaborate. That's good enough because that is the era of co-optation that we are entering into, anyways.
Next two questions. One is why should any buyer or seller prefer IGX over current price discovery process, which is through tenders? And when is gas pricing likely to be deregulated? Minister talked about it, but gave no timeline on.
Yeah, benefits for buyers and sellers are like buyers can choose their time frames in which they want the quantities. The contracts are not rigid. And today also when buyers do buy from the market, They have to negotiate, then sign a GSA, then sign a GTA for capacity booking. So all those processes will be eliminated, and we will make this whole process smooth. So the cost of doing transaction will come down. The transparency in the price discovery is there, so they don't need to bother about price. So they will be flexible in buying it. So that way there will be advantage to the buyer and seller also. They see they don't have to bother about the payment security. So even the traders or sellers who have to look for a buyer, they don't need to look for buyers because they simply come and put their quantity on the exchange and let exchange facilitate it to the buyers. So currently, the issue with even the international trader is that they don't have access to the Indian market. So once exchange is there, probably they will have direct access to the market. So they simply can uh, unload their quantity on the market and sell it to Indian industry. Yeah, what was the second one?
The second one was on the minister speaking about gas pricing likely to be deregulated, but there was no timeline. So, what in our view is the timeline that the minister is looking at?
We can't say it's like minister only has to say something on timelines. We'll await timelines from minister himself.
The next question is, at what market share of spot would we achieve break even?
Vineet?
It's more linked to the revenue side, what we discussed earlier. Means I can give you the time frame what we are looking, expecting in next 1.5 to 2 years. We will definitely going to do the break even. But at what percentage? Because a lot of market factors are there. It's a volume game because exchanges have the majority of the cost fixed. So we have to create the infrastructure and we have to build the what to say able team for all the things. It will gradually pick up as Rajiv and Mr. Nandiratha had spoken. So this is how we have to wait. So give you the at what volume is something means it can be at 3% also, it can be at the 5% also, depending upon how the things turn up. But I can give you the time frame in next 2 years, definitely before less than 2 years we'll get in the break even. But at what volume percentage, I think it will be too early to comment on that.
Okay, thank you. In the interest of time, we'll just take the one last question, which is there any plan to bring in strategic partners in IGX? And if yes, at what stage will this be?
Okay, of course, there is a clear understanding that there should be some strategic partnerships with us in IGX to make sure that we are mapping the end-to-end value chain of this part of the business. So we hope to bring in and we hope to bring in fairly soon, and we'll let you know as we go forward. At what stage, like I said, anytime now is a good time to bring in those strategic partners.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you, everyone, for the Q&A. We have a lot of other questions as well, but in the interest of time, we can take that offline. I now request Shruti Bhatia for her closing remarks and vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Aparna, and thank you, dear friends. I think we were waiting for this day and the launch day and also this interaction for a while now. We were more than 79 people connected at one point, and now I think we're about 67 people still with us. Thank you so much for making it such a huge success. For the last 2-3 quarters, in fact, Aparna has been receiving a lot of questions from all of you, and we have been saying that we will speak to you at the right time. So today is the day where we get to answer and sort of have a very candid, open, objective discussion with all of you. Rajiv, thank you so much for aligning the the IGX and the national objectives of economic industrial competitiveness and also building a sustainable energy economy. Rajesh Medirata ji, thank you so much. I think the question and answers was so interactive and so engaging that we covered almost everything, which is there for the IGX to in our discussions, right from the values to the volumes to the rupees and revenues to the policy. So there is nothing really uncovered. Still welcome if there are more questions. Aparna and I can come back to you. Thank you so much, Rajesh sir. And I think in about 12 years of operations, the energy markets give us so much, the value that the markets bring to the table gives us so much confidence that, be it from the perspective of efficiency or be it from the perspective of flexibility, be it from the perspective of savings, there is so much, that is there for us as a sector, as an economy to, sort of do. And that keeps us really inspired and really confident about how we can turn around and how we can change things and how we can do so much more from the energy market perspective. I really thank each one of you for joining us for today. And if you have any more questions, please let us know. Before we really say goodbye, there is a small video that we have, and I will request Souvik and Aparna to please play that video.
IEX, transforming India's gas market with IGX, changing the dynamics of gas-based industries, promoting sustainable energy, creating a competitive gas market, and building a gas-based economy in India. IGX, the future of gas trading.